Now we're going to look at metabolic groupings of microbes. So with metabolic groupings of microbes, microbes are divided into metabolic groups based upon their energy source and their carbon source. So we apply the word troph, and troph always means to nourish. So when we look at energy source, phototrophs use light as the source of energy. Chemotrophs, on the other hand, use chemical molecules as the source of energy. So with chemo, think chemotherapy. Chemo always just means chemical. Then there's carbon source, right? When all organic organisms or molecules require carbon. So autotrophs, they synthesize organic molecules using CO2 as their source of carbon, right? So they're self-synthesizers, right? With heterotrophs, hetero just means other, so literally it's the other feeding. And so they synthesize organic molecules using an organic source of carbon. Right? So when we combine the two terms, right, we get two primary groups. And so the one I want you to focus on, because I have photoautotrophs there, that's FYI only. The group that I want you to focus on is the chemoheterotrophs. Right? With chemoheterotrophs, they use preformed organic compounds as their source of energy and their source of carbon. And so when you look down here in the blue box, right, chemoheterotrophs, right, include most bacteria, all protozoans, all fungi, and all animals. So now with chemoheterotrophs, they really are subcategorized based upon how they obtain their organic nutrients. So saprobes, those are free-living organisms that feed primarily on organic matter from dead organisms. Right, so this is just showing you a banana peel, and that banana peel has been sitting out for a while. Right now, these organisms are feeding off of the dead banana. Right? Does the banana care? No, because it's dead. Then there's parasites, and then parasites actually derive nutrients from cells or tissues of a live host. Right? So in terms of why chemoheterotrophs are the medically important organisms, right? It's because they're the ones that cause disease. Right, so here we have a living host, right? And so the living host is actually now supplying the carbon source as well as the energy source. So these are the ones that actually cause disease. Then there's adenosine triphosphate. With adenosine triphosphate, the most important molecule or important portion of this actual molecule is the phosphate bonds, right? And so ATP is an energy storage molecule. Right? It's not energy itself. Energy, again, think cellular currency, right? And that cellular currency must be stored someplace so that it's not automatically used at this point, and it can be transported throughout the cell. So I always think of energy as being cellular currency, but ATP is the wallet. So that high energy, right, or the energy is stored in these high energy phosphate bonds. Now, ATP is generated or synthesized through phosphorylation of adenosine diphosphate. Right? Phosphorylation is exactly what you think it is. Right? We'll now take a phosphate group and we'll add it to adenosine diphosphate. So we represent it as adenosine diphosphate plus PI, which is just inorganic phosphate, plus energy, and that yields ATP. Now, if you think in terms of chemical reactions, right, catabolism versus anabolism, right, if this requires energy and we're starting off with two smaller molecules and are bringing them together to form a larger molecule, this is an anabolic reaction. Conversely, whenever the energy is needed from ATP, we can cleave that high energy phosphate bond, and that is called dephosphorylation. Right? So D indicates to undo, all right, like depolarize, you're undoing the polarization. Here it's dephosphorylation. So that means we're going to break apart ATP and then we will remove a phosphate. And so we represent this as ATP yields adenosine diphosphate plus inorganic phosphate plus energy. So we're starting off with a large molecule, and we will now essentially break it down into adenosine diphosphate, which is a simpler end product, right? Inorganic phosphate, which is a simpler end product, plus energy. So this type of reaction would be a catabolic reaction. right? So if we're destroying or making something smaller, right, going from a large subunit into smaller subunits, right, then we release that energy. So an important idea in metabolism is that ATP is not the ultimate source of energy for metabolism, right? Basically, ATP, again, is just an energy storage molecule. So the ultimate source of energy is actually glucose, right? Glucose is the preferred source, and glucose is the source that will actually enter into glycolysis. With glycolysis, if we break down those words, glycolysis, right? So with glycolysis, it just means breaking down sugar. And in this case, we're going to break down glucose.